Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good week, good third week of Advent to you all. It is News from the Pew, where we take news from around the interwebs and say, it's not as bad as you think it is. I'm your host, Rick Barrett. I am the Armed Catholic, and I hope you all are having a great day. I'm joined right now by my man, Steve Cunningham, out in South Carolina, the dynamic duo, the skeleton crew, whatever you want to call us. We are here because we are. Anyway, Steve, how's it going, bud?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing well, man. Things are great. Things are very good. So
Everything's awesome.
Everything's always awesome, right? We're a couple days away from the birth of our Lord and Savior. So despite whatever else you want to say, things are good. Things are absolutely good. So I think we're losing track of what really is good at that point.
Yeah, just if I wanted to black pill everybody and make everyone suicidal, I think we could do a show like that. But I don't think
Absolutely.
it'd be good for anybody. But yeah, I see these guys online and going again. You see what you're not paying attention to. Oh man, 2024 is going to be could be really fun.
Well, that'll be next week. That'll be next week's prediction show when we really just black pill everybody ahead of the ahead of 2024. That's then. Right now is
But as you said, we got Christmas coming up. We're in the Catholic Church, and it's hard. I'll be honest with you, bud. It's been hard for me to keep going doing this, not because of the news, but reading the church fathers and things like that, getting to the point of you see their words like, who cares? Just work on your virtue and things like that. I haven't done clown playing in a while, not because I don't want to, but I've been putting everything else, putting that on the back burner. Keeping up with things, but that's 2, 3, 4 hours of the day. I could do something else with, and I've been choosing to do something else with it. Mostly, like putting the books together and things. But
well, I mean, you're also that's later. Really, you're launching a brand new thing, so that your attention has to be to that. Right. If you want it to be successful, you got to put everything into it, or as much as you can.
Yeah. So. And priorities, that does a lot more good than me telling you how, maybe next year you're going to have robots serving you. Or,
your
Wi-Fi is spying on you.
Yep. Don't do it yet, Steve. Don't do it yet, buddy.
We're going to make you eat the bugs.
Yeah, right. Enjoy your meal this year because it'll be the last time you eat actual Christmas scoops.
Those are chocolate chip cookies. That ain't chocolate.
That ain't chocolate, bro. That ain't chocolate. Of course, we got the whole thing is that I always like to and we all know what we're talking about. We're not going to go in depth with that. But I'm just going to give you my opinion and then I'll move on because it looks like Steve's giving his. I'm a medieval Catholic, man. I work on my house. I try to take care of my wife. I try to make sure we're in the best state of grace possible. Whatever else happens is whatever else happens. I really am not going to put a lot of time, effort, energy into essentially gossip and worrying. Anxiety. We're not supposed to be anxious, right? There's not supposed to be anything on this earth that's supposed to make us anxious because the goal is eternal salvation and that we don't want to be pulled away from that. So that's all that stuff. And so we can just we'll talk about these useless news subjects because it's something, I guess, to pass the time, right? Before we get there. And the biggest one, really the only one, because this time of year news really just goes to die. And it is at least we can thank the Colorado Supreme Court for giving us this to talk about. And that is that the Colorado State Supreme Court has decided that even though Trump has never been actually officially charged with insurrection anywhere, that he is guilty of insurrection and is no longer allowed to be on a private ballot. The Republican Party is a private organization. So the fact that they're trying to say that, hey, he's not allowed to do it is kind of stupid, but that's the age which we live in. And in case you know what I'm talking about, check this out.
Insurrectionist, sir?
Well, I think certainly it's self-evident.
You saw it all. Now, whether the 14th Amendment applies, I'll let the court make that decision. But he certainly supported an insurrection. And no question about it. None. Zero. And he seems to be doubling down on about everything. Anyway, I've got to go do this.
Hey, what is I gotta go.
Expecting a hostage deal anytime soon? Yes. Oh, really? Okay. Well, where?
Where are you talking about? Shut up.
We're pushing it. I don't. There's no expectation at this point, but we are pushing it.
Can you address the prisoner exchange with Venezuela, sir?
Yeah.
What?
Can I do that after this event? Okay.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
But it looks good. It looks like.
Who's exchanging prisoners with Aunt Jemima?
On a free election. It ain't done yet. Got a long way to go, but it's good so far.
And your reaction to 20,000 dead in Gaza, that death toll reached today?
Who's on Dancing with the Stars? What?
Who said that question?
What are you talking about?
The Supreme Court.
Who's there?
Justices in the majority did a really sensational job of answering every legal question and reconstituting what happened on January 6th to explain why Donald Trump did engage in insurrection within the meaning of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But it was a very powerful and exhaustive opinion dealing with everything from, is this really just a political question, up to Congress, to the question of whether the president is an officer under the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, to whether he'd in fact engaged in an insurrection and what an insurrection means. So I was very pleased that the rule of law was vindicated by the Colorado Supreme Court in this way.
Colorado Supreme Court has disqualified Donald Trump from the 2024 ballot for president, citing the 14th Amendment, alleging he incited a riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. The legal theories are based on Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment, which states public officials who have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the U.S. may be disqualified from public office. Trump has not been charged with engaging in insurrection or rebellion against the U.S. The state's high court left room for an appeal. The ruling will go into effect January 4th of 2024. Trump will likely appeal the ruling to the U.S. Supreme Court. Similar 14th Amendment lawsuits are being fought in states across the nation. Last month, the Minnesota Supreme Court flatly rejected a bid to block President Trump from the primary ballot. This is a developing story. Stay tuned to the new Vigilant News Network on vigilantnews.com.
What is that? The Vigilant
If anybody
News
says
Network.
pretty much like a swing a dead cat, and nobody knew what Section 3 of the 14th was before this week.
No, Steve, nobody still knows what it is. Nobody still knows what it is. What are you talking about? Section 3 of the 14th Amendment talks about no person shall be senator or representative of Congress or elected, blah, blah, blah.
You know
blah.
the thing.
Okay, invest or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States, under any state who, having previously taken oath as a member of Congress, or as an officer of these United States, or as a member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or have given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Thank you. So the fact of the matter is, this is just a blatant abuse of the judiciary, a tyranny of the judiciary. And now we are finally joined by the stars of News from the Pew. That would be both Fawaz Yazzie and the one and only Jonathan Arrington. Gentlemen, it's great to see you both on this third week of Advent. I hope you're both doing well. Fawaz, how you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the birth of our Lord.
Excellent. John, how are we doing down there, bud, in the great state of Georgia?
Oh, just exercising a lot of good doubts in honor of Doubting Thomas today. A lot of doubts.
That's right. Although Doubting Thomas was also had the greatest act of bravery, because when our Lord and Savior wanted to go to Lazarus, and it was almost certain death going back towards Jerusalem, he said, "Let's go with him." So, Thomas doesn't get a lot of credit for that, because
I had a priest heard he said this. He didn't take other people's words without evidence. He just didn't like blindly believe. Oh yeah, I need to see this. Like so many people, hey, we see a tweet that happened. Well, that's not doing any due diligence or anything like that. Let's just obey because NBC is the the gospel and they're infallible. Or my guy down the street, he knows everything that's going on in Ukraine. He's infallible. Let's never do any research. So, in a sense, I like his attitude of question everything.
Yeah, I mean, the idea Thomas gets kind of he gets it kind of bad because everybody's just like doubting Thomas, but there's a little bit of virtue in that. So, I mean, it is what it is. And yes, John, you're right. There are many things to doubt and worry about. And towards the end, we're going to want your opinion on a certain thing or two. We're not going to focus that much on it on the show because I think that's more fear porn or anything else. Because Steve and I were talking about, work on your families, work on your farm, work on your salvation, and everything else will figure itself out at some point.
So case, work on his beard.
Yeah, work on being.
I'm waiting for the Christmas CD. People want the Christmas CD.
Christmas CD or scene?
CD.
Yeah, he wants me to make a Christmas album.
Christmas CD.
Oh, dude, you do it. Just don't do the Beatles song because that's the worst song ever. Literally, the Beatles did the laziest Christmas song. They just said simply having a wonderful Christmas time, and they repeated that for 2.5 minutes.
That's a horrible song. The greatest Christmas album was William Hung. You know what I mean? Hung for the Holidays. Yeah, I gotta check that one out.
William Hung is a legend. He is a legend in that regard.
See, they're already calling for the CD.
The Enoch Christmas CD? Hey, he's got a year. He's got a year to plan and put one together. So, although it would be a neat Christmas song to have it from Joseph's point of view.
That's good. That's a good one.
I know.
We need a Marian song where we mentioned there was no birth pains because that's very Catholic, right?
As long as it doesn't have the phrase "Did you know?" I think we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That'd be fantastic. But we just talked about the biggest and really the only news story because this time period news kind of goes to die, and anything that is just tiny gets it brought up to keep these 24-hour newscasts actually going. But Fwaz and John and then Steve, your thoughts on a lot of people said, oh, they won't take Trump off any ballot officially. They're just talking a lot. They're, stomping their feet and so forth. But now they've actually gone through and done that. So my question to the entire panel, we'll start with Flaws, is, are you shocked that they actually went through with it? And B, where do we go from here as far as, do we care? Do we pay attention? What, your thoughts going forward into the 2024 election?
Well, good to be with you guys again. This is an interesting topic because if you look at, what was it? YouTube, not just too long ago, where you could not question the election. You'd be banned. And I believe it was like a few months back, they took that ban off. They said now you can question an election. I think Joe Biden has done such a horrible job as president, as we all predicted he was going to do, mainly because Joe Biden is not running anything. He can't even decide what he's having for breakfast. Well, these are just the policies that we dealt with from 2008 to 2016. The same policies. The same GDP growing at a very slow rate. When Trump came in, now I'm taking this as if it's his face value. I know a lot of us really, look at this and say some weird stuff going on. This is this theater that everybody's playing. It's almost like Trump's Apprentice just became nationwide, and this is a whole, like you said. Rick, that politics is just Hollywood for ugly people. So no,
you saw that one from Michigan, man.
Yeah. What is that?
I mean, I don't want to quote Kevin from Home Alone. Roof.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So looking at what they're doing is, I think they know that there's a great chance that Trump could get back into the White House. And everything they're throwing at him is just not sticking. Now, whether they want to create this the scene to get him back in the White House and further divide the country, this is, it's working very well because he's a very useful tool. So if Trump does end up getting back into the White House, do I think he's going to go and drain the swamp? No, he didn't do it the first time. He can't do it the second time. The swamp is so deep. Our Lord literally has to end this system as we see it now. It has to fall, collapse in itself for man to rebuild. We have to rebuild. I don't think you're going to send somebody. You're going to send a former playboy, to Washington and expect him to be our savior. This is ridiculous. But I will say this: they're going after Trump. I'm not surprised by this because here's my prediction. My prediction is, if Trump does end up pulling it off and winning, because if you look at the approval rating as far as average goes, Biden is at -16, and to put that in perspective, in 2020, Trump was at a -8. So what that means is that Biden is double times as unpopular and unwanted as president than Trump was in 2020. And I think the lowest we've ever had was H.W. Bush, and he was at -22. So Biden is extremely, extremely unpopular. There's a chance he could lose. So if this doesn't stick, if it goes to the Supreme Court says this is horse manure. You can't take him out of the ballot. It's not democracy. Well, what's going to end up happening is it's probably going to go to 6-3. We all know this is going to happen. It's going to go 6-3 in this U.S. Supreme Court. Now you have precedent to where if Trump does win, the Democrats can spend the next 4 years saying he's an illegitimate president because he was never supposed to win anyways. He was knocked out. It took his cronies in the Supreme Court. You got to get their base going. He's an illegitimate president. If he does lose, if Biden does pull it off, the other side will say, we had a whole year of election interference. And that's what's going to happen. Now, who's behind the Colorado, horse manure? It's this the CEO, Noah Bookbinder, who actually is the head of Crew, who is actually who was in the Biden administration of Homeland Security. So this whole thing is actually administered like by DOJ and Biden, meaning his administration. So this is not something that the state Supreme Court of Colorado did out of their own doing. No, this is the same administration today that we're seeing. The Obama administration, that's running everything, is weaponizing every possible way to get Trump out of the ballot because he seems to be increasing in the polls in favorability, and little old man likes ice cream is going down. So to me, it's not going to work because it's going to get shut down by the Supreme Court, but it is going to work insofar as it puts Trump back in the spotlight. Biden cannot go back into hiding in the basement this year like it did in 2020 because he is the president. So this is a way for them to deflect away from Biden and bring Trump in and divide the country even more.
That's an excellent way. I mean, it actually does work because these people, at least in the secular level, they plan 2 steps ahead, right? They're always planning of these things, and they've always dropped these things. But think about this. So he gets off the ballot in California and Colorado and these other states, but he wins anyway, the rest of them. So now what's the thing they always harp on, John? They always harp on the popular vote. Now, if he doesn't get the 10 million in California and the 4 million or whatever or 1 million in Colorado, so Joe supposedly has 71 or whatever, and Trump has 50. So now they can come out and say, well, obviously electoral college is bullock because these people are not being represented. We need to get rid of it. And so all those other things are set up as well, John. So that the whole pie of having this thing set up, and they set this up from 2020. Right, this whole thing was started from 2020 onward. So your thoughts on this whole event moving the way it is?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Rick, and it's good that you brought up some extra points there, as did Fawaz, about the way they're kind of keeping people on edge naturally. Like every base is going to be riled up, as Fawaz said, and you brought up the particulars of how these things were already in place, but before we got to this point. And so the only thing I think that's worth adding at this point, from my point of view at least, is that this has been the way. I mean, I dare say from 1776 or even before, but at least from after the Civil War, that clearly the aim has been to keep either side so focused on being angry at the other side that they're not really paying attention to what those who are in power, and let's just say I mean, I hate to use the elite class, because there is a good sense to the word aristocracy, and it literally means like the kind of the elite. All right, those who are in power are elite in some way or another. But I mean, in modern English, look, when we use those words, we get that everybody usually means those who have a lot of money and power and didn't really earn it in any way, shape, or form, and don't really deserve it in any way, shape, or form. So, just stepping aside from any sort of like scholarly issue or something like that. The folks who have been trying to keep and hold on to power and to money since at least after the Civil War, they knew exactly what they're doing all along with this. And so what I would say is what this makes me wonder more than anything else is what's going on otherwise in the government right now. Like what this is so silly and childish, and I mean, look, Colorado is not even purple anymore; it's blue. I mean, I just moved from Colorado 2 years ago. It's getting bluer and bluer the whole time we were there for 5 years. So in a certain sense, I mean, could Trump still pull it off? I know it wasn't horribly out of the realm. It wasn't far out of the realm of possibilities that he could have pulled Colorado either in 16 or in 20. I mean, it wasn't the worst of the states. Okay. But I mean, what else is going on in government right now that this needs to take the fore? I'd be worried. It's what do I not see right now? That's what this whole, I mean, this is cheesier than a midday soap opera on NBC, and my dad used to watch them. God bless him. But so I know how bad that is.
Gotta watch my stories.
Yeah. So the young and the restless here. Why do they want us restless? Is what I want to know. No, that's more my because look, one little maybe tidbit about their Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It's so ridiculous. Like, so I was just, why do they normally they want to keep us away from the particulars, So why do they want us talking about that? Why do that? Well, the more I looked at it, the more I thought, okay, you know what? I think there is something here to all this. And yeah, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, not just shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Like, basically, we have given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof at every turn, ever since the founding of the nation. I mean, like if you read a decent history of the United States, even the worst of characters have pardoned at times their seeming direct enemies. So come on, I mean, the whole thing is based on a joke, really, from the beginning. And so I think I don't know. I think this is actually, by their repeating this consistently, if anyone were to actually go and read Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, they'd say, wait a minute, giving any aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Like, oh boy, we've probably done that a lot in the past. And you know what? By doing this, they're throwing it in our eyes. They're mocking us. They're saying, look, we can do whatever we want, because clearly there's nothing here in these words that suggests this has anything to do with what happened on January 6th and Donald Trump. Nothing at all. So clearly we can do whatever we want. And like what we're doing with Peter Navarro right now, I mean, out of all the people that stayed with Trump from the beginning to the end, like it seems like one of the most, I don't know, somewhat down to earth and sane overall, all things considered. He's not perfect, but it's like if they can do this to Trump and to Peter Navarro, they're going to try to mock anybody by throwing this sort of stuff in their face. So yeah, that's what's got me worried. What else are they doing right now that they don't want us to know about, since they're clearly just flexing their muscles as they're doing this?
Yeah, there's a lot that's put in there. That's correct. Yeah, as always, John. The fact of the matter is, if we were talking about aid and comfort to the enemy, there are many senators, there are many presidents previous that have given aid and comfort to many supposed enemies through aid and all of these other kinds of things that we've been financing across the world. So that's kind of crazy in that regard. But of course, if we didn't care about Washington, D.C., if we went local, then Steve, I don't think we'd really have these problems.
And if you remember, voting doesn't do anything. Or actually, if voting was did anything, they'd ban it. But yeah, the article, section 33 of the 14th is, well, the 14th wasn't actually amended legally, anyways. I mean,
it was that's a conversation nobody's ready for.
No. It's, but that can of worms right there. But everybody and their brother. I mean, that's the new American Constitution. American Constitution is the 14th Amendment.
Yep.
Before Lincoln's war on Lincoln's Northern aggression, which pretty much he waged war on what they did on July 4th, which people actually get upset about. Oh, yeah, well, we celebrate that. Not that one. Or the Ukrainian guys. Oh, we don't want Putin doing but Lincoln.
But we did.
Yeah. Wait a minute. We love Lincoln. We say our Lincolns and hail Obamas. I mean, wait a minute. He sits in a temple. Lincoln is God's gift to the world. He's greater than everybody that walked on the planet, which is actually what they're using for the 14th. Lincoln said it. Jonathan, you might need to correct me if I messed the lineup, but it's the appeal to authority fallacy, right? And they look at Lincoln. That's it. He said this, albeit so that means that we have to do it this way. I mean, it's what did he do? He asked for time to question the election. Pretty sure that wasn't an insurrection. You want to see this, right? What happened a couple months later? Then was it not San Salvador, but they literally took over the Capitol and made it into like they kicked out the people, ran for their lives out of the building. That's an insurrection. I can't remember where that was. That was about 2 years ago now.
Oh, I remember that. It was in like South Africa or something.
Yeah, yeah.
South America. The building. Yep.
Yeah, that was an insurrection. Now, what if Trump wins? Which he probably will, because I believe that he's part of the problem, which conservatives love this. It's kind of like, it's mind-boggling going, the only thing they got is, well, he got 3 Supreme Court justices to end abortion. Well, how's that working out for you? Ain't working out too good. Right? Yes, sure. Yes, it saved babies right now. In the long run, you're going to get Roe 2.0, and every state has pretty much been pro-death. I mean, it's almost like it was planned out to be it. But that's the only argument they'll bring back to you. Well, he got those out, that baby, and which is, a good thing. You're missing everything else. You drone bomb more people than Obama. Yeah, sure, there was no more wars, but he killed more people than Obama did. The inflation went up. He shut down the entire continent. The union was shut down. He could have, but they blame it's the states. He gave Fauci the keys, and literally gave him the keys. Go for it. Everything that went down, everyone's kind of like blind eye. Well, he's our man. He's not he's a politician. Look what he's saying now. He's pretty much not saying pro-life stuff he's doing before. He's all about bringing up the swamp again. He's probably on the Epstein list. I mean, that's coming out, but no one's paying attention to that. Who cares?
Yeah, we're supposedly getting a list sometime soon.
Yeah, get the list, check it twice, all that naughty and nice. But I mean, he will win because they want him to win. I don't know how. When someone goes, hey, I hope he goes, like that whole group out in Arizona, the Trump group in Arizona doing it. Everyone's MAGA. The guy that took out the statue, by the way, he's okay. He's probably okay with the Arlington National Cemetery statue being taken down. But let's not think that a politician will take advantage of a situation. And how many people just cheap? This guy's the greatest guy in the world. I literally had somebody tell me I'd vote for him for governor. The guy that took out the statue in Iowa. Why? Because he took out a statue in Iowa.
Because he did
something.
That's
his qualification.
Insurrection.
Come on. And then, like, we showed how many statues are out there, and also one. And wait, he's up for election. A politician never let a crisis go to waste. That counts for both sides. But because there's an R next to their name, we go, we're not looking. Yep, that's cool. It's okay when we do it. But yet again, he'll win election. But hey, election from jail, elected from jail. DC officials advocated. This guy was Connecticut, I think. He was elected while he was in prison. Eugene Debs. He was a prisoner. He was a socialist.
No, Trump's not going to say he doesn't care about any of these people. He's just going to be he's going to be white Nelson Mandela. You're going to hear him just be white Nelson Mandela. That's it.
Oh yeah,
just like Nelson, they're
it's
putting me in prison. So just like Nelson, I need you to vote for me. So that way
donations
I can
up.
out. They're imprisoning all the black people and me. Like that's exactly what he'll say, and it'll be actually great because the actual operational capacity to put him in a prison cell, they have to either build a prison from scratch or close off an entire wing because they're not going to be able to put him in the general population because it's going to be him and 5 Secret Service agents around him the whole time.
Like what Jonathan said, it's all for show. This is just, I played the Days of Our Lives intro. It sands through the hourglass. It keeps your eyeballs on. You're checking Foxy and whatever. Holy cow, what is now? You're going to watch that same report 37,000 times, never questioning what's going on. I mean, half the people, most of the people that are pushing it, anybody pushing for a 14th Amendment, I'll make sure that the 3 of you are on this so that you guys can't be tied to anybody like, oh, I can't believe they believe what Steve says. You're a progressive. It's a progressive mindset. If you're a 14th incorporationista and not the original intent, you're a progressive. And literally definition of what a progressive is a progressive mindset to be for everything that goes with the 14th, the incorporation of everything. And letting DC run your life. I mean, the other day I posted was that DC was having a milk thing. They just passed, hey, we got to have whole milk in schools. Raise of hands. How many people say, you know what I need the government to do to tell me what to drink out of school? Think locally, act locally. How in the wide world of sports, one, is a power of the federal government to tell you to what your kid can drink in school or not? And that's there, with all the money that you're getting raised, stolen from you in tax purposes, go to what? I mean, again, here's Abbeville Institute. Oh, I don't have that link up. But if you guys want more on this, here's Abbeville Institute's article on was the 14th Amendment Constitution adopted. Brian McClanahan a month ago called all of this. The only thing he got wrong was he said the lower courts was going to do that. It ended up being the state court of Colorado, which California is now looking to push the same thing. And in a sense, if you're a MAGA fan, who cares? You weren't going to win. He wasn't going to win Colorado anyways. He's not going to win California. You're going to have the red states not do this. You're going to have the blue states probably do this. So New York will probably do it. Jersey will probably do it. You're going to have a split of people. And people were looking, hey, maybe this causes a rift. Good. I hope it brings it all down. Again, it needs to. I mean, I don't know what's somebody going to say. One person is going to go up in there and fix all this. You're out of your darn mind if you think it's fixable outside of a miraculous event and conversions coming out of the wazoo. But to say that a vote, which everyone keeps saying, I should have put the Kamala thing up, and this is good. And when she said that this is the most important election or whatever she said, something. She didn't even
say that. She was just the most election ever. Or something.
Yeah, the most election ever. That's the phrase that they tell you every 2 to 4 years. This is the most important election of your lifetime. This is the most important election of your lifetime. This is the most important election of your lifetime. It's just rinse, repeat, and you get had every time, and then you get done going, what did I just do? Just like you talking about just get had. Here's the guy, Argentina's new president, warns nation of drastic measures to save economy. He's pretty much going to collapse it to save it, which everything, what the article we had last week, we're not leaving the Paris Accord.
Yeah, but don't tell the
y'all got had for some cute lines and a chainsaw. Look how easy the populace is. We will go, oh, that guy said some cool things. He's got some tweets that I want. I'm voting him just like the guy knocked over the statue. I'm voting him because he knocked over a statue. I'm voting him because he put a tweet that told people they were libtards. I'm voting that guy. Just because I think he's cool. Hey, that was my dumb mindset back in college. I voted for Bush because he ran the Rangers. It just Or he was the president. That's literally how most people think. I want to have a beer with that guy. I will vote for him. And you wonder why we have problems today.
Well, the whole thing too is, in addition, you have, well, the 14th Amendment is why my life is miserable as a firearms instructor or owner, because everybody goes 2A, 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 and that's because it was crowbarred in thanks to the 14th. But everybody's touched on the potential long-term ramification being, you know, some kind of dissolution, some kind of divorce, some kind of civil war. Well, they say politics is downstream from culture, and it looks like culture is finally. Now, remember, these things don't happen instantaneous. It's not like a YouTube video, and I'll talk about that. There is a major film from A24, which is a major studio. They won one of their films this last year, won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Not that anybody cares. I'm just trying to give you an idea. It's not a fly-by-night operation. This was written, casted, directed, produced, scored, edited, and then the trailer drops right before 2024 begins. Not saying everything's planned, but you'd watch this trailer and you tell me.
The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Oh, by the way, look at the most important character in this trailer.
There's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America.
We just try to stay out with what we see on the news. Seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America, the so-called Western forces of Texas and California have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Texas and California can unite.
I got thoughts on that.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens? The movie introduced today.
We need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death. Flooded.
Thank you, diverse cast.
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. Look, well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
The meme is born.
You don't know?
Of course, it's a white guy.
The Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car!
Hitting the gas guzzling explosion.
Move, move, move! You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
One nation under God.
I'm going to make a mine.
With liberty.
Actually, it was proclaimed by a socialist. I'm not actually Lincoln. He was a Lincoln devotee.
And justice for all.
Oh no, they blew up the Lincoln Memorial.
God bless America.
Oh, there's so many things wrong with that video.
Yeah, I got three things off the top that I'm gonna, two things. First, the fact that it is a reporter, the news media, who is the main character seeking the truth, right? That's very important. It's a female, of course, obviously, reporter who is trying to save these United States, right, as the Civil War takes place, because nobody trusts the news media anymore. So obviously we have to have a reporter be the main character. Secondly, why in a civil war when California and Texas, which would actually make sense if they're both independent republics, aligning to keep everybody away from them? They don't have to agree with everything, kind of like Canada and these United States are aligned to keep people away from their hemisphere. Why would they ever want to go to DC? Why would they, if they're independent republics, why would they waste resource, time, and energy to go to DC? Why? Because this movie reinforces what? How DC is the holy land. No matter what, that's the most important thing. Not your independent republic, but you're in Texas, you're 1,800 miles away from Washington, DC, but no, we need to go to Washington, DC. Why? You're already independent.
Even the name Civil War for this, the one for the states, that's not correct, because a Civil War by definition is you're going after that one government to control that government. Whereas the Confederate, they already established another government. It was leaving it alone. It was another, that's why it was like an invasion to another quote unquote country in a sense. If you're going Civil War, it's two people. It's kind of like the Civil War Avengers. It's two people looking for the control of that one. And like you said, you have a state, you have the capital of Texas, the capital of California. It wouldn't matter. It's literally backwards thinking.
Yep. So Fawaz, I'm guessing that's the first time you've seen that trailer. What's your oh, okay, good. So it's not a hot take. Yeah. It is a cold plate take. Let's get it.
I've seen the trailer. I haven't seen the movie. I've seen everybody's commentary on the movie. I don't have Netflix. I honestly think that this is one of the.
Oh no, that's going to be actually in theaters next year. That's going to be released in theaters next year.
Wow.
Oh, this isn't that one movie where everybody, like, the infrastructure.
Oh no, this is not the Obama movie. This is a completely different film. This is a different. This is a film that's going to have a cold campaign. It's going to be released in theaters during the 2024 election.
Okay, my bad. Yeah, this is the first time I've seen this trailer. I thought this was the movie about the infrastructure dying.
Oh no, it's not about bad dancing Julia Roberts. Not about that.
Yeah, because that we say that was predictive programming. I just think to myself, Netflix was bleeding so much they needed help. Yeah, listen. I mean, let me point it into a more of a, because I'm not going to watch the movie. To be honest with you, I haven't seen a movie in a long time. I'm not really interested in any new movies because all of them have scenes that break the principle of the integral good. So I would shut it off halfway. Either they're blaspheming God or there's immodest material in every
Good angel.
Nowadays. Yeah, right here, right. So to give a Catholic perspective, I do think you're right. I think you're right, Rick. I know they're pushing this narrative because I think that the end, barring a miracle from our Lord to save this country, civil war is probably going to be the natural end to what we're seeing today. And honestly, the Civil War is the natural end to Americanism, regardless. It's because it's based on Protestantism, and it just leads to nowhere. It leads to hedonism. The philosophy of Catholicism, especially sanctification, and how a soul is saved and justified and sanctified, would be the greatest thing that would happen to this country. It would save this country, but because Protestantism is the frame ideology of this country from the very beginning, this is the natural end. Just the same way that the natural end of every Protestant is atheism. So if I could just give it just a very short Catholic perspective on this, and I would say is almost every single thing that the devil does, and this is Eastern Orthodox, the way they're thinking, is a distraction. If you look at the Screw Tape Letters, I remember when C.S. Lewis was writing this, I remember a part when the guy was sitting on the bench waiting for a bus, and the bus passes by, and there was something about God, and his mind starts working now. Is thinking about God, if there's a creator. It says the higher demon is showing, I think, tapeworm, and the other one, it says, attack his lower faculties and make him hungry. Remind him of foods, and then that thought will perish. Now he's going after the lower things in life. The demons know how to distract us from everything. My thing is, I think we've fallen in love with our life here to such a degree that we don't want to lose it for the sake of heaven. And I think that the devil is going to distract us even further with all of this politics that we're talking about and everything. I would say that our life here is very short and it's very temporary. And to spend this of Advent, especially this Christmas season, remembering that our home is heaven, and to work on our salvation with fear and trembling, like St. Paul says, and not to be distracted by this and that. And if you are going to be easily distracted, get off whatever is distracting you. Cut the eye off, I guess that the Lord would say, if it's causing you to sin. And get back into that season. So I just wanted to give kind of a Catholic twist to it. a virtuous twist versus us, for me sitting there talking about whether civil war will happen and what would happen with the if that was the case. I just know that I'll protect Kentucky as best as I can, but in all reality, I'm planning for heaven. That's it.
I mean, that's really, that's kind of the thing we were talking about at the beginning. Despite all this stuff, is that it's all a distraction from the ultimate goal, which is holy death and a blessed eternity. But with that out of the way, John, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that was really excellent, Fawaz, and that puts things in perspective. The only other thing I'd add is that, as usual, the powers that be want to pervert anything that is good on the natural plane, and so I mean, there's also the supernatural level, the patria, your homeland, the place you're supposed to be, and of course, as Fawaz noted, that's heaven for us as Catholics first and foremost, because we're always going to be wayfarers or pilgrims on this earth. But I mean, there is, and nothing that in Steve's vigor that he says, I'm sure you could ask him, never would contradict this either. We're meant as human beings, as reasonable animals, to also love our homeland, right? And so the only thing is, I mean, there could be debates back and forth about how big a homeland could be, and it still be reasonably called a homeland, patria. But one thing's for sure. I mean, at least for I don't know. Let's say since the acquisition of, no offense to Alaskans out there, a lot of whom I think are some of the sweetest people I've ever met, and I'd love to share a patria with them. But after the 50s, you get the acquisition of Alaska, and it's like, well, okay, but like somebody over here in Florida, or let's say someone in the Carolinas or Georgia, just to take an extreme geographic example, how can you reasonably say they have the same homeland, the same patria as somebody in Alaska? I mean, for Canadians, I'm sorry, but it's just kind of like you got that little zone where people can actually live, and you got the rest of the country that is freezing cold. It's really ice. But I mean, for us Americans, come on, you've got the Virgin Islands, and you got like what you drive down past Miami, an extra 6 hours south still, and be in the U.S. and yet somehow that's still the same patria as Alaska. Yeah, no. So I mean, as usual, I'm sure that there's some movers and shakers, some players there in Hollywood that, or Atlanta, which I guess is New Hollywood, that want this movie out there for some particular reason. But just based on that trailer that I just saw there, see, here's the thing. I mean, I was reading some Greek tragedy last night. Pardon the nerd here, but and I'm just thinking, like, I mean, the point, the art of reaching the point of the play, even something like where you know what's going to happen. Let's just say like a Oedipus Rex, right? Like because it's such a part of kind of cultural vocab. People know more or less the story of what happens with Oedipus, at least in the first part. Not Oedipus Gaunt, but Oedipus Rex. And yet, still, if you read it, you are mesmerized up until you get towards, kind of close to the end where it's all revealed. His back and forth with the Tiresias, where he kind of finds out what is actually the case. There's an art to it, and it's much more in keeping just with human nature, or something like that. Even though it's kind of small as far as dramas go. You could probably read it in less time than it would take you to watch this crazy movie. But the thing is, the fast pace at which so many things happen in these modern day movies is not good for the human soul to imbibe. So, I mean, so Steve, you can talk about VidAngel all you want, but like what I'd be talking about is, what about the moral imagination of man? We shouldn't be watching stuff like that throws so much at us, so many different events that could happen concurrently, and then back and forth, seeing different places, and all kinds of different actors. It's not good because we can't authentically and morally process that well and come out and like make sense of it. No, it's just it's meant there to kind of spur on our emotions. It's harmful. It's an I would say a moral and an intellectual evil for them trying to foist this kind of stuff on us like that.
I agree.
Anyway, that's my rant about movies in general. Even if you could kind of take out the bad stuff, there's an approach to reality that's unhealthy. That's really not good.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point, John.
May I add something?
Yeah, absolutely. Jump in there.
No, that's such a good point. Great point, John, because it's the same thing with music. Just because you took the lyrics away, it doesn't mean that the rhythm and the music and the frequencies don't affect the soul either. So that's absolutely true.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, over your Christmas break, you should totally. I'll try to catch up on my reading of Tyrannosaurus Rex as well, and try to really get back into. Isn't that it? Is Tyrannosaurus Rex or Adam? The
Curious George.
The Curious George complex, yes. I think it is, or something of that nature. I don't know. It's something of that. Steve.
Well, I got done reading Cat in the Hat the other day, and
that's my favorite.
I like
the one where it pops up. That's my favorite.
Pop-up books.
Oh yeah.
I always broke
it. New adventure every page.
No, but the trailer, man, that was, you talk about propaganda wise. It always hit all the topics that you talked about. Somebody when you bring up the breaking up, they go, oh well, the military will end up invading. Okay, well there's that. Check that box off. And you're like, yeah, they're gonna invade. They're gonna go after. They're gonna bomb you. And, well, they are bombing regular Americans. I mean, Obama, how many people Obama bombed that were American citizens? They went over that. No one did anything about it. So yeah, they could do that. I mean, they already know the Wi-Fi. They can check you out in your homes and all that stuff. Nonsense. That one question when the guy said, "What kind of American are you?" That's another one right there. So you have to be united to DC to be quote unquote American. I mean, I remember reading Garcia Moreno. They talk about Ecuador being America. Pretty sure South America is America. Central America has America. When did the United States of America just trademark and said, we are America, that's it. No one else can be America. That's just, and that's ingrained in our heads. Oh, you're American, you're American, you're American. As Jonathan brought up exactly about Alaska. I have nothing in common with somebody who lives in Alaska unless they're Catholic and they're human. Outside of that, the culture is different. The way they talk is different. I mean, everything's different. So sports actually has it right when you say entering Gamecock country or entering Tiger country. I mean, you are now in mixed country, whatever, because everyone is in that same culture and society in a sense. You're not. No one says this is NFL country. Who says that? I mean, that's global in a sense. Too big. And then that goes into, all right, you got to have DC run your life. DC has to tell you what to drink. DC has to tell you what to eat. DC has to tell you this, the other.
Whole milk. You need whole milk.
You have to do this. You have to, we're going to get rid of cars. You have to have a digital ID. You have to have this. You have to use our currency. By the way, what we're going to do with digital currency? Well, it's because we're in charge. The Fed runs everything. I mean, it's reverse of what everything came out. Not to glorify the founders, but they said everything's the most power is supposed to be closest to your chest. Your sheriff, your local ordinance, your mayor. Then you get up to your state. The general federal government had no power. That was why they didn't like the Articles of Confederation, because they wanted more power out of that. And they wanted, obviously, they needed something for defense to be able to unite everything, which is the main thing for a president anyways, is for, say, military intervention from a foreign entity. Or trade with other people outside, intertrade with the states. That's a state-on-state thing. It's a government. Hence why the abortion thing went back to the states, because that's where murder is a state level. Everything, like, you don't have DC saying, well, this is murder. Well, you don't go trial at the Supreme Court. You don't go to trial for murder at a federal thing. I mean, that interstate, yeah, that's different, but yeah, you get it. But yeah, that thing, man, that had all the just. Why are you invading DC? As you said, it makes everyone propagandize you into thinking that's Mecca. You're American. You're only American if you're united to DC. The Pope is the president. You have to do everything they say from there. Do not ever question their authority. If you aren't, we'll shoot you. You want freedom, you want liberty, you want this other stuff. You are the rebel. Which is what you celebrate again on 4th of July. And If those guys were, except for Alexander Hamilton, they would roll over their graves seeing that. But there's a certain meme that goes out with a certain priest that says "told you so." No, you'd have George Mason and Patrick Henry going "told you so," because they literally did tell you so. This is what's going to happen. Again, we brought up last time. Hamilton actually said, let's forget this whole thing. Let's skip the little procedure and go right to an elected king. We're going to have it. And that's what we have. We have DC, an elected king. Lincoln sits on the temple. He was the one that ended the 1776 spirit. Done. 1861, done, over. You got the new one coming in 1865. New constitution, new thing. One nation. That came from that whole Pledge of Allegiance with nobody before 1860s ever did, with the salute. That was the salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag. You look up the pictures for it. That was a self-proclaimed Baptist socialist that ended up writing that thing because they wanted everyone to think one nation. You're not separate like those boobs back in the South thought you were before. And then Lincoln said that they thought the states were like counties in a state. Now they were counties for the republic, and he didn't like the republic idea. It's one thing. You're one size fit all. And if you're one size fit all thing, forget the states, get rid of the borders, get rid of your state constitutions, stop worrying about what because that's your defense. The states could defend against any of this tyrannical stuff coming from DC. So if you want that, be consistent. Eliminate all the states. Call ourselves the Russia Junior, because that's what it is. Russia's ran by Moscow. One gigantic land block. They don't have states in there. We want to be Russia Junior. Eliminate all those boundaries and have DC be the little Moscow, run everything, which is a really, really bad idea.
Yeah, nobody actually you don't want that. You actually don't. I know everybody's, Flaws pointed it out. We're fat, we're lazy, we're hooked on a lot of modern conveniences. We have a lot of people in this current climate who claim to suffer hardships or be poor when, if you think about it, they have a house, running water, access to food. It may not be good food, junk food, all that other kind of stuff, but seriously, you have fat people that are poor. And so their standard of living, as low as they think it is today, is 100 times better than it is 100 years ago. And so we have all this other kind of stuff. So we have these fake things that Steve's putting on there. The idea that breathing is bad for you. We have these self-created crises to get, honestly, as Steve pointed out, just to kind of keep you occupied, to kind of keep you distracted. From which what your ultimate goal was a holy death and a blessed eternity. And no, I'm not drinking toilet water. I don't really care. I don't let my dog drink toilet water, so I'm not going to drink toilet water.
Here, if you Californians want to drink toilet water, you Californians, go ahead, drink toilet water. That's a California IA problem.
Yeah, you guys,
when you have DC telling you we're going to make you drink toilet water from here to Kingdom Come, what are you going to do? What state can you run to?
But, Argentina.
Yeah, go to Argentina.
Just run that way.
But here's a local solution.
Texas Governor Abbott signed a law today giving sweeping powers to police to arrest migrants who cross the border illegally. Immigration enforcement falls largely to the federal government, but Republicans in Texas have increasingly been taking control. This new law allows any Texas law enforcement officer to make an arrest. Opponents call the law unconstitutional and plan to challenge it.
It's unconstitutional for cops to
arrest illegal people.
Obey the law. Yeah, use the law.
Now,
overreach. Local guys saying, I'm taking the power back.
Real quick, it takes 3 months for any bill that's signed to actually go into law in Texas. So this doesn't have any type of enforcement power until March. So this is a great headline for Greg Abbott in his attempt to be the vice president for whoever wins the general.
He is an Israel firster.
The guy is desperate to get out of Texas and be in DC. He absolutely wants to be the attorney general. He wants to be the vice president. He wants something. So he's ready to get out of here. So good for him. I will only be happy when they start doing this, because 14,000 illegal immigrants pass through the border. They all got a $5,000 gift card. They all got a phone. They all got a plane ticket on first class, and they're all going to their destination of choice. So that's the real problem is, yeah, please start arresting them. Please start arresting them, and please start doing something. Because right now they're just not.
Well, the phrase that pays is the feds got upset because they're actually, as they said, taking power back.
Yeah. Yep. That's the biggest problem is that, and people here in the union have been so happy to just give it to DC. And then DC is so happy to give it to the executive, and the executive is super happy to give it to their 3-letter agencies. And the swamp, the tyranny is not AOC or Feinstein when she was here, looking up at us now from where she is, and all these other things. The real problem is the bureaucracy within the executive, which is so fortified. The people that are there, it doesn't matter who you elect, they're still there. And they're going to slow roll if they don't like what they did to Trump, or they'll put it on warp speed, and I'll use that term correctly, if Joe Biden, or whatever the intern that's, scooping the food into Joe's mouth says to, that's what they'll do. And so that's the issue there. I see Paul thinks that the border is fictitious. Okay, well, thanks, buddy.
Every quote unquote country has the right to defend their border, which Texas is, just like was synonymous with state country.
Union.
What do you hear in the news? The state of Israel.
Yep. Yeah.
And they want to make a 2-state solution. That you hear that it's what is synonymous with the word? Italy is a state. The state of Italy, the country of Italy, the state of Israel, the country of Israel.
The prime minister of the state of whatever they'll always say in that sentence.
The state of the state address that every state gives, and it's not the state of the country that the feds is the state of the union. It's really easy when you start thinking about it. It's just getting just changing your habits.
Yeah, it really is. But you've been conditioned through public schools and all these other kinds of things to think that this is the one and only thing that must be done. And you saw that Zelensky, he's so 2022.
He's about to get Hussein.
Yeah, right. He's just so 2022. But sorry, you can wear all the tight t-shirts you want, bud. Nobody cares anymore.
The Enoch, the clothing line. You saw that on the Enoch store.
He should have inked that deal while he was hot, but he's not hot anymore. So sorry, little Zelensky, you're out of luck. So that's really how it goes. So at this point, we've covered everything front to back, because there's really not much else to cover unless there's anything else you want to bring up, Steve.
Well, you want to bring up a certain thing that came up in the news.
Yes. This is one more cause for celebration. Proof that we are winning.
That wasn't it, but okay, that works.
What?
I said that wasn't it, but that works.
Yeah, I mean, the real reason to celebrate is that he's back. He's back, folks. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins. He's awesome. Back. There is hope for America. Hogan 2024. That's what we're looking for.
Hogan versus Rock 2024. It's coming, baby.
You might as well. Yeah. Why not? It's all fake anyway. So then they could do the team up and be president, vice president. So that would actually be a better way to select an executive. Whoever wins is the president. Whoever's the executive. Whoever loses is the vice president.
Dude, that'd be so funny. Trump, Hogan. Biden Rock.
My goodness. That would be so perfect for America in 2024. It would really be. But yeah, there's really nothing else. It's kind of a joke. Do you have a saint of the week in a cry room for us?
Yeah, my cry room. I hate to do this because I just don't publicly talk about him because he's the Holy Father. But I gotta put Pope Francis on there. And no, it's not for what everybody thinks. It's not because of a new document, which we didn't talk about that, which is fine. We don't really gossip about church stuff. But his constant, and today he said it again, his constant obsession with the rigid. Fulton Sheen said that the purpose of the papacy is to be the banks of a river, so that when the water flows through, it's flowing through the right direction. It's protecting the deposit of faith. And when Pope Francis says things like, look what he said, I think audio today, that rigid ideology prohibits us from moving forward. Moving forward to what, your Holy Father? What are we moving forward to? We're supposed to protect the deposit of faith. And I'm just getting sick and tired of this whole the church needs to move forward type thing. So I'm putting the Holy, charitably and respectfully, I'm putting the Holy Father in the choir room. Do better. And then my saint of the week. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know what my saint of the week is. I've been kind of off social media a little bit more during this Advent season. It's been cutting things off, so I haven't really seen too much of what's going on out there. Anybody who criticizes LeBron James, that's my saint of the week.
There, done. There it is.
There you go.
There it is. Perfect, man. Perfect. Steve, who you got?
First, I got Eric was asking about the clown thing. So, Eric, there you go. Yeah, I still have it, man. I think I wore it a couple episodes ago.
There you go.
But yeah, there's a clown show out there for sure. Appreciate the gift from back in the day. Cry Room, I'll go with people taking down the Arlington National Monument.
Reconciliation Monument.
Yes.
That's the thing. It's about reconciliation and moving on. And these people are, they're telling you. They're telling you.
Well, just like I can't remember what McClanahan was talking about. He was calling out all these Republican, not just governors, but senators and things like that. Where are y'all at on this? All of a sudden, we got crickets. I asked that when the guy that knocked over the statue thing. Where is he? Where's these evangelicals and the Southern ones? Quiet. Also, like I said, it's yes, not backing up the satanic thing, but I'm thinking, okay, you're using it's looking like a political gain out of this. It's political strategy. No one has any principle. Saint of the week, I had one and I totally forgot where it was, but
really,
we'll go with
was it?
We'll go with any priest that's out there that's saying
there was one diocese in Africa. There was one diocese in Africa that came out immediately and they're like, nope, we are not doing this. As soon as the Francis document came out, they're like, nope, this is not happening.
Just to touch on that,
Africans, go get it.
Just to touch on that, Rick and I were talking about beforehand. I still haven't read the document. Probably not going to. Don't care. Plus, I'm literally busy doing other things like putting up 60 videos a week and formatting about 10 books this week and translating them and all this and having the kids and playing with the kids. So forgive me if someone tells me I'm putting my head in the sand for not reading the thing or talking about it. I got other things better to do and better books to read. Everyone else is talking about it. Let them talk about it.
Steve,
what?
If St. Alphonsus would have spent most of his time worrying about what the Pope said, do you think he would have put out the books that he did for our sake in the world?
Dude, yeah, I mean that too. I mean, even Alphonsus' time, you think he knew everything that was coming out of Rome, or every comment or every document?
No, and it should be that way now.
Yeah, you're supposed to be busy enough doing your duty to worry about your stay in life. I mean, there's a book on the latter divine ascent. He talks about judgment or judging others and things like that. And I'm not saying don't judge Pope anything like this on, yes, is it gray and ambiguous, all that? Yeah, we get it. But he mentions talking about others saying, if you do that, wait till your judgment day. It's especially if you think you're up here and everyone else is down here. Right. But it's kind of like, be at peace. Do we trust our Lord or not? People are writing me on Twitter saying, hey, thanks, Coach, for the rah-rah tweets. Well, it's not rah-rah. It's just hey, focus on doing you do that video of the dog having the hockey pucks get out. There's pucks flying by his head, and he's straight forward on that black puck, and he catches it. Where everyone else is, how many people are getting over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. Yeah. Where's your focus? Stay focused. That's why I bring up sports a lot. If you're playing ball and it's a big game and there's a ruckus going on in the stands, and you start watching that, you're going to either have the ball hit you in the head. If you're playing basketball, if you're playing baseball, it's going to hit you in the head even harder, knock you out. Or you're going to look like an idiot out there. Just focus on what you're doing. Use the serenity prayer. I mean, there was a secular guy brought it up for movies, of all things. He was like, because he was talking about how they were going to reboot Avengers, basically. And people were upset. And he goes, let's use the serenity prayer. Talk about things. Let God give you the wisdom to not get upset about the things I can't control. I mean, you can't control some of the things going out, but you can do penance, prayer, take up the cross. How many, like I brought up the not conversion. I brought up a friend, somebody I know well, close to the family, in the family, who pretty much fasted for 2 decades and prayed hours every night at the Adoration Chapel, prayers at night. I mean, literally, when I say didn't eat, I mean, I remember saying, hey, I remember Dad said, "Are you eating?" And, it was Mom. Okay, there was days I don't remember her eating. She probably did, not a lot, but my brother and I, we were not in the church at the time. We were carrying cars, just 20 years ago. She got us both back in, got our dad in before he died. She wanted it. Do we want it? Now, when I was playing hoops, I was practicing 6 to 8 hours a day, shooting probably about 400 or 500 made shots from behind the arc and all that. I mean, hours, work out, eat right. I wanted it. Do we want a good Pope? I think people say the words we want it, but do actually the actions behind it? I think it's all talk, especially in the trad, in every movement. We are all talk. We sound good. We like talking a good game. Until you practice, until you want it, when you want. There was a video, St. Ignatius of Antioch, from 2016. I don't know if you remember that clip. He's sitting there. He starts when he starts begging, and he walks up with his cane. And he sits there and he just has his hands out. And he looks clean. His hair is clean. He doesn't look. He looks fine. He's smiling. The next scene, he's shaking and crying his hands like this, and. 2 different things. One, he mentions it in the books. I think he writes up. He thought of himself as a fraud. Until then, when you want it, when it's time, when game time's in. He was wanting that when he was begging. That was real. All right, this is legit. I'm literally needing food. We're not at that level mindset.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If we're going to talk about the whole document thing, I just want to share just very, very briefly. If you look at the entire document, is Francis promoting blessings of sin? No, I think because I think it was ambiguous enough he said the right things to get away with it, but because it was a response to the German bishops. But my thing is how I'm going to judge a document's success versus failure. If Father James Martin is taking victory laps, it means you did not air seal it tight enough to you can't be ambiguous when it comes to this guy. He'll take it and he'll run with it. He does it with scripture. So if you are going to write a document and you are saying, you're trying to make sure that you are now blessing sin, you better say it in such a way and keep repeating it in such a way to where not even he can take it and run with it. And that's what they failed to do. It's weaponized ambiguity like they always do. And will he be corrected? Of course not. So that's my biggest problem. And that's another reason why I throw the Holy Father in the choir room.
Excellent. John.
He's getting his steps in.
That's right. Thoughts on that? Saint of the week, cry room.
Yeah, I'm going peripatetic on you guys, doing the walk. Well, yeah, I would gladly include pretty much all of the immediate reactions in the cry room there. I mean, just throw it all together, all the extreme reactions, saying it was either all of one thing or all of another, especially because you could pretty much, if you knew who the person was who was making the comment, you could have guessed without having any context. You could have guessed what their read on it was going to be without having read the document yourself, without having anything else. You could have said, all right, so-and-so is making a comment about it, and it has to do with, Francis, and you could almost say it has to do with Francis and whatever. And you could have guessed the comment ahead of time if you were halfway astute, not an idiot. You could have guessed. So nothing was added to the conversation by any of the comments. So, I mean, there's that. That is very cry room worthy. I've seen maybe a very few reactions that are more, sensible and kind of trying to take a virtuous middle by saying that clearly there are some, if you want to use the old Michael Davies lingo, there are some time bombs in here. Clearly, like one that I pointed out to a friend of mine, just in a public, not in a public forum, in a private way, was the mention of mutual assistance. That is a term that if you've ever taken a de matrimonio class, if you ever had a class on marriage, it should have had something in there about mutual assistance as one of the goods of marriage that the spouses are supposed to give to each other, is mutual assistance in everything in the marital life, but especially just in dealing with the normal difficulties that come up in human life. So that's long since at least the time of St. Augustine. He probably is borrowing it from earlier Greek writers on the subject, even like Origen, saying some of the good things about marriage that he did. So that mutual assistance, that would be included in the document as something that a particular relationship needed to pray for. That's a bad ambiguity. That's an inclusion of a term that has for at least 1600 years been used exclusively about marriage. So that whoever put that in there too, I think, had to know that. So that's bad. All right, that's the sort of time bomb, if you will, that you just have to expect that bad is going to come of that. However, the comments in the document that refer to the exclusivity of marriage and even refer back to that original document in 21, why did these same people that were condemning this thing left and right, why did they not mention any of these things? Not a word about it. It's like, well, look at still the pretty strong language about the exclusivity of the sacrament of matrimony, and how it's referring back even to the. Let me tell you something else, guys, that I haven't, I don't think any of the normal trad voices have mentioned. Isn't it pretty providential that the document itself at the very beginning mentions the response to the dubia? Like, I mean, that at the very least, the benefit of that is it gets people to read that and see what the
Oh, they got him.
And company on the map in a way they have not been before, really. To me, I thought that's a great thing. It's getting people to read the dubia and the response to the dubia, because that is right there. Like, footnote number 2, it's at the very beginning of the document. So these are good things. So why are people just completely going to one extreme or the other and only looking at whatever they would normally look at because they deserve to be in the cry room, because they're partisans and aren't after the truth, whether the truth hurts and you like it or not. Anyway, but the only other thing I would say is something that Steve said made me think of that famous quote about St. Augustine. And when Monica is told, a son of so many tears could never perish, we're talking about, pray for my son to St. Ambrose, and, a son of so many tears could never perish. I mean, that should remind us that the two integral parts of being a Catholic Christian are what Steve's always talking about, with 3 cheers for joy in the latest Census Fidelium newsletter. All right. So joy is one of those things, reacting to the good that we should be able to see all around us. But the other thing that I guarantee you all of these critics of the Pope do not have enough of. I know I don't have enough of, but I know these people don't either. And so they should not be throwing stones when they don't have this. They don't have tears. The Desert Fathers said you have to, if you want to even be considered making steps, like in the middle way of the spiritual life, that you're halfway there to heaven, you have to be able to cry for your sins. Are these folks, are they crying for their sins? I mean, They want to cry about the sins of the Holy Father in writing this document and publishing it now. I'm sure there's something to be mourned there. But are they crying tears for their own sins and for their loved ones, like Steve's talking about with his family there? Are they crying tears for the salvation of their non-Catholic neighbors and family members that have fallen away? And many of whom have probably fallen away because of the scandalous things they've heard from, trad commentators who've ripped the church left and right. No, they haven't. Those tears aren't there. And so before we get those tears, I think we can start making, these critical comments of the Pope when we're crying tears for our own sins and when we're joyful and we're able to see all the good that's around us that God's given us every single day. Then maybe we can be in a place to, be the reasonable critic. Sorry, I got on a high horse there and just started rambling, but
no, I just found out that the Eastern Prayer Rope, the part where it looks like a little what would you call it, the little fuzzy part at the end. Father Abernathy said that was to wipe away the tears while you're praying.
Like the maniple of the priest. Yep.
Yeah. I was wondering. I was thinking maybe they flogged themselves with it. I didn't know, and he mentioned that in his Evangentinos thing when he's giving stories about these saints that were incredibly good for helping, convert these people, or he said they were softies because of how much they loved our Lord and loved souls to be able to punish themselves for others. Yeah, we need to get some of that back.
Well, those two, you flog yourself and then you cry and you wipe the tears away. So it actually
there's that too.
So you can actually get both done.
That's very rigid, guys. We got to move forward.
Very, very. It's almost as rigid as me thinking or not saying, this will be the first time I actually say it this week, that anybody that ran to a computer and had to give their hot take on this latest Pope document is akin to a money changer in the temple. Like, you are literally profiting off of the church on the church grounds. It's a pretty bold statement, and I stand by it. If you are running to to give your commentary, now the term theologian is tossed around a lot, but the Catholic Church only has so many of them. If you're going to proclaim yourself as some kind of Catholic theologian, that your opinion is so daggone important that you must run to a computer at this point so you can get clicks, likes, and money off of the turmoil in the church, you're a money changer, and you would have been whipped and run out because of that. Sorry, I'm not trying to toss a grenade at the end of this show as we log off, but that's how I feel about it at this point. No, Brick, I'm not talking about you. You know exactly who I'm talking about, and everybody knows exactly who I'm talking about because they all have videos that came out within 24 hours of what was dropped. Nobody took 5 seconds to read.
I didn't even know it came out that day.
Took the time to pray an extra rosary, maybe skip a meal, maybe go to confession, maybe to do any of these other things that we all struggle to do, and I get it, but they ran straight to push their opinion, and it is, folks, their opinion on this. So
you're doing your duty. You went, like I said, I didn't even know it went on until, of all things, I went on Twitter to take out the notifications, and I saw everybody. Brother, it was like 11 p.m. that night or 12 midnight or something like that, winding down. Yeah. Oh, what happened? I need somebody to. I joke saying I need somebody to come up with some way to alert me on what I'm supposed to be mad about that day.
And can I just say one thing about that too? Rick, you just nailed it, brother. All of the saints who were trained in those ancient schools of rhetoric, they all say something pretty much like what you just said. When anything important like this happens, we know that the good angels and the evil angels are always there, not just moving us to do one thing or another, but to say things in a particular way. So, I mean, the greatest saints think that the angels, both good and bad, always have a hand in rhetoric. That is the way in which we phrase things that strikes a certain emotion in people. It habituates us to certain responses. So the only prudent way when something like this comes out on a matter that is just laser hot, the only prudent thing to do is, as you said, at least take the time to pray an extra rosary before you say anything, before you chat anything, before you comment on Facebook or Twitter or anything, and then probably wait a day or two, because the way we're so high strung now with our emotions, that is the only prudent thing to do, is to let the emotions die down and get so that your intellect can start working a little more properly to judge what you read and then go back and read it again, and probably even read it a third time, before you actually comment, and try to take any possible influence in the rhetoric that the bad angels may have had in it, which they very well may have, and then just try to judge it based on the inspirations of God alone. And we can't do that if we're outside of the greatest saints. You can't do that like that if you're not.
I want to change my cry room up. Paul brought up a great point. I forgot about it. My apologies. The Pope called that murder. The Catholics were shot and killed. And guess how many Catholic journalists were quiet about it? They jumped behind what's his face?
Netanyahu?
No. What's his face? Shapiro.
Oh yeah.
Catholics working for him. They didn't say a peep about that. And they will not say that. They won't stop chatter about anything bad that goes on the other side. Their own people got shot and killed by a perfectly. There's no other way to call it a terrorist shot, and they stopped. They have not reported on it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, somebody did call me out. I do want to apologize. I not the intention to call out the Pope public. This is why I just don't talk about it publicly at all, because I know that I might use some words that I just don't mean that comes out that could mean some way. So no, I'm not saying that.
I'm not talking about you.
No, not you. Somebody did say on the comments said that I was when I said that the Pope knew the ambiguity when
explainer.
No, the ambiguity of the Pope, he was doing it on purpose. You're right. I don't know his intention. I just really wish that I know because we can play this Peronist Pope Francis thing. He says something base, and they says something horrible. That's a daily basis. He'll say something that's base. He'll say something that's not. And I just want the League of the 13. I just want clarity, and if you're going to put something out that's a document that is this sensitive, if we're talking about blessing sin versus not blessing sin, all I was saying is, and again, I'm not putting any intentions on the Pope, is I really wish that it would be so air sealed tight that someone like James Martin would be disappointed because it doesn't support his agenda. So that's what I was trying to say. But yeah, you're right. I was trying to, I wasn't trying to give motive to the Holy Father. If that's how it came out, then I apologize.
Fawaz wants Martin to say this.
Dare you?
How dare you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all, it is something that we can absolutely go head over heels with, but it is what it is, folks. Pray an extra rosary, due diligence, fast, pray for priests that will be confronted with something like this, the ambiguity of it, and pray that they stay strong in the faith. Pray for Holy Mother Church, pray for the Pope, and even those guys I called out on, you pray for them as well. That's in our charity, we are supposed to pray for them, and we need to, especially a couple days from now, the birth of our Lord and Savior comes, right? The good, Christ our Savior will be born. And that is joy. We need to have joy at this time, even in the midst of all of this. My cry room is the sheriff of Fort Bend, Texas, is where Houston is located. He says that gun ownership is supposedly a privilege and not a right, even though it's enshrined in the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 23. But, he is who he is. And then my saint of the week, I'm just going to go secular, Vivek Ramaswamy, simply for as soon as the whole thing with Colorado happened, he's like, well, I'm going to leave too. And then it was a great power move because it forced Ron and Nikki and all these people to be like, well, I'm not going to leave. So I do like the fact he put him in that position. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of News for the Pew. Like, subscribe, and share the news from the Pew. We will talk to y'all next week. Merriest of Christmases from all of us. Our Savior is born. Joy, joy, joy. It is a time to celebrate. We will talk to you all next week. God bless and Viva Cristo Rey.
Viva.